Hi guys, today we are here to do our next lesson in organizational behavior. Our today's lesson is very small and a very simple one. It is simply about the management of change. What is a change? Change actually is anything new that happens in the organization. It is actually doing something different from ordinary way of doing things. It may be a change in function, change in procedure, change in the structure, or change in the behavioral pattern, or an attempt to change the culture, or any new technology being introduced in the organization. That means change is anything new that comes in the organization in any form. It can be behavioral change, it can be a structural change, a functional change, or anything, any new product line, any change in the old product line, or anything. So change is anything new or anything different that happens in the organization. Not only things like we talk, like it's not only different things that happen in the organization, but also the things that are done differently. So change is actually anything different that happens in the organization. So here we have a little there are some quotes on change. Change is the only constant thing, and I like it very much because it says that change is the only constant thing, and it is so true. Change is continuous. It happens. It is not a one-time activity. It will be continuously happening, and it is the law of nature that a change is going to happen, and everything in the world is going to change for something good or bad, but it is going to change. And when we talk about organizations, there has to be some change because environment is fast changing. It will be changing, it will not be static. So, and any change in the environment, whether in the government, in society, in polity, any change in the environment will have an impact on the organization. So change is the only constant thing in any organization. Charles Darwin says that neither the strongest nor intelligent, rather the most responsive or adaptable survives. So here he is actually indicating that the one who adapts according to the environment. So for this particular lesson we say that with any change in the environment, the one who adapts to that particular change or respond to that particular change, whether proactively or reactively, will survive for long run or will actually move towards growth. Okay, now a very important this assertion is here. This says that working of modern organization is like permanent white water rafting. In other words, organization is not a large ship sailing through calm sea, rather it is a small raft passing through white water rapids. What it says simply that change is not a one-time event. It is actually a process. You may note it down. It is not an event, it is a process because it is continuous. It is not that you have done it for the first for one time and you are relaxed that you don't have to change in the future. You have to be adaptive in the future to the environment in order to survive, in order to grow. So it is like permanent white water rafting where you have to adjust, where you have to continue adjusting with the water waves. So Peter F. Drucker says that organizations are living mechanisms because they are living mechanisms. So Charles Darwin principle also applies to organizations. He actually believes in foreseeing and bringing change. That means you should be able to predict the change and then manage the change, bring the change. So it is known as proactive reaction. That means what are you doing? You are actually responding to the change proactively. That means beforehand you are predicting the change and you are bringing up the change in your organization. Peter F. Drucker is a great advocate of sensing the need of change and managing the same. That means he is a great advocate of proactive response to environment or change. So what organizational change is? Organizational change, it refers to doing different things or doing things differently. That means it can be a change in the activity, function, process, product, or it can also be a change in the procedure or structure, etc. So anything that is doing different things or doing things differently in order to have better response to the environment. Change is normally it is actually with respect to environment, in order to respond to environment, whether it is internal environment, external environment, micro environment, macro environment, anything. Okay. We'll see the details of environment, how to handle or tackle the environment, how to deal with the environment, insulate from the environment, or whatever the actions we have to give to the environment. We'll study this in OT part. So now, what can be the response to environment, or what can be a response it can be in proactive manner or reactive manner. That means the change can be brought in a proactive manner or reactive manner. Proactive manner means you are predicting anything in advance, and then you are bringing up a strategy, a forward looking strategy in order to impact the environment rather than getting impacted by the environment. It may be that you are getting ready for any change that is going to happen in the environment, or you may be affecting that particular change in the environment. For example, if we in this case is, you can take any example, like if you foresee that a new product is to be launched by the competitor, or you foresee that a new factory has been set up and they are going to they are going to bring up a mint freshener, and then you proactively react to it, and before they complete their project beforehand, you actually bring out your own product. So it is, you are reacting to the environment in proactive manner. That means you are in an offensive mode rather than defensive mode. Reactive manner is defensive mode. Like for example, when we had this fast card for mosquito repellents, then many other companies, they also came up with it. So it was reactive. So it can be reactive manner as well, or proactive. Reactive is a defensive type of strategy. I hope you got it. Now, very important thing that we are going to do here, that means our OB manager is concerned with, is change management. Okay, we know what is change. Change is anything that happens in the organization, or anything change like doing things differently or doing different things in order to give response to the environment. This response can be proactive or reactive. Okay, fine. Now, change management. How will you manage change? Or when I talk about change, you actually should also think of Mary Parker Folow. She is we have learned that her theory was a bridge between the classical theory and the situational theory or contingency theories. And Mary Parker Folow, she suggested that environment or situation is supreme. She said that the law of situation prevails. That means everything should be decided by the situation rather than any other manner as being advocated by classical or neoclassical theories. Okay. So don't forget to mention Mary Parker Folow in cases of change, or like in questions of change. Okay, now change management. Actually, what is change management? It is planning and executing a change in desired manner with minimum side effects. If you're managing a change, that means you're trying to bring up the change. Okay, you're trying to bring up the change, but in such a manner that you face minimum resistance or you have minimum side effects. You have to first plan it, then implement or execute it in the desired manner with minimum side effects. Okay. So it involves, change is a process and it involves 3 steps. That means, first of all, timely conceptualization. Timely conceptualization of change strategy also include in it the prediction of change, or then formulation of strategy. It may include, if in case of proactive strategy, it includes prediction of change as well. Timely conceptualization before it is too late. That means the resistance has gone too much, or the environment situation has been so worse that you cannot bring up the change later. So it should be timely conceptualization of change strategy. You have to be efficient in execution and implementation. Then you have to prevent or manage the resistance. This happens in this stage also. Like, efficient execution will be possible only when you manage the resistance to change effectively. Okay, so you understand that change management is a process which involves timely conceptualization, efficient execution, and management of resistance. Management of resistance is actually included in this stage only, execution. Okay, so now we have a very important theory being given by Kurt Lewin, force field theory, that is where he explains the process of change management. He has given a very important theory about change. He says that there are 2 forces that actually operate in the organization. One is the driving force and other is the restraining force. So his theory is force field theory. As the name suggests, you can make out that driving force is something that actually drives the change, that actually gives momentum to the change, that actually necessitates change, that actually helps in operating change. Restraining force is something that resists change, that actually becomes an obstacle in change or implementation of change. So driving force, it creates momentum for change and which are pro change, which are in favor of change. Restraining force, they have the potential to resist the change and they are against the change. So what you have to do here, you have to manage the restraining force and you have to encourage or give boost to the driving force. Fine. So he has given one diagram where he has shown on the one side there is a restraining force, on the other side we have the driving force, and on the middle of it we have the organizational effectiveness. So here it says that whenever you start with a change, you have a driving force and you have a restraining force. But if you start increasing the driving force without paying attention to the restraining force, then your restraining force will grow higher. That means you are focusing just on the driving force rather than on managing the restraining force, then it will grow higher and it will not let the change happen. But if you manage the driving force along with managing the restraining force, you are increasing the driving force along with managing the restraining force, then it will help you to bring back the restraining force to its original position and help the change happen. When the change happen, it will take the organization to a new level. It will help the organization to grow or tackle any problem that it might be facing. So, but if the driving force is less than the restraining force, then it will go negative. Change implementation will not be possible, or it may be rollback. It may also lead to rollback. So you may even fall from the earlier point of effectiveness. So it is like your driving force must be equivalent or more than the restraining force, as well as you should have a strategy in place in order to manage your restraining force. So both the forces in your organization are equally important to you. You have to strengthen this force and you have to weaken this restraining force. Okay, I hope you understood. So now the question occurs that how the equilibrium can be maintained, between driving force and restraining force, that we'll be doing in the resistance management. Now the question is, what are driving forces and what are restraining forces? Driving forces is change in the environment. If there is any change in the environment, then it is a driving force. For example, if GST bill comes, like we can see now that GST Amendment Act has been passed and GST bill is going to come, because GST Council has been set up and all the work is being done. So we know that it will come. Sooner or later it is going to come. So all the CA firms, they have actually started adjusting to the change. They have started organizing seminars, organizing workshops for GST and etc. And there are different courses that are being run for GST and etc. Other things. So this is like there is a change in environment, and so it is a driving force that people start adapting to the change. Top management. Yes, how the top management wishes to take the change. It is like the owners or the top decision makers of an organization who conceptualize or plan the change. They are the one who take the initiative in the change. If they are interested, if they are willing, then the change, they will be driving force to change. For example, if there is a political will in our country, then the policies, they come up very quickly. Like in GST, we have seen that at the end we were able to get some political support from all the parties, and hence it came into existence. At least GST Council came into being. So top management or the top decision makers need to have that will, need to have that intention to bring out change. Workforce, they act as both the driving force and they act both the restraining force. Actually, if the workforce is trained, if they are prepared, if they are being motivated well, if they are being acknowledged about the change, the improvement that it may bring about in their working, etc., then in that case they will be the driving force, because they will accept the change and they will give momentum to the change. They will let the change happen, they will implement the change. So hence workforce will act as a driving force. Training, obviously training, if you train them properly, if you give them, for example, you have to shift from manual accounts to the computerized accounts, then obviously there would be many apprehensions in the accountants doing the manual accounts. So if you provide them proper training and orientation is provided to them, then they will be excited for the new change, and hence it may come into being. So what you need to do here, there can be many other driving forces like motivation, reinforcement. And do you remember by the word reinforcement what we are talking about? We actually learned about B.F. Skinner theory, that is reinforcement theory, where we talked about negative and positive reinforcement and what impact it has on motivation, etc. Yes, hope you remember. So motivation is also a driving force, reinforcement, the negative or positive reinforcements, hence these can be driving forces to the change. And motivation is very, very essential. It is very important when we talk about our change management, because motivation will help us bringing the change, because breaking the status quo and convincing the workforce for something new, something different, something out of their comfort zone is a really difficult task, and that can come only through proper motivation. Okay, what are the restraining forces? Yes, these are the driving forces which actually boost up the change process. And what we talk about is restraining forces that actually can bring the rollback of change or things like that. So, what are the reasons? They can be human factors and they can be structural factors. What are the human factors? Human factors are logical and rational objection. For example, like this is a change, like demonetization is a change. So there are some logical reasons as well. There are reasons in like people do not have the money to exchange. How will they exchange? You're providing 2000 rupee note, then how will they get that 2000 rupee exchanged in smaller denominations? How will the transactions take place? Like 10,000, 20,000 rupee transactions, how will that take place in just 100 rupees note? And there are many logical objections to it, like you do not have enough currency, so you are just stripping the market out of currency, so your economy will go down, your GDP will come down. Then you have to think about daily earners, daily wage earners. You have to think about farmers. So these are logical and rational objections. Then comes psycho-emotional objections. What are psycho-emotional objections? I'm very attached to my 500 rupee ka note and I cannot let it go. I'm so attached to it, so I won't let it go. So this is a psycho-emotional objection. Or you can say that, no, my relative is losing so much of money because of it, so I will not support this movement. So it is sociological objection. That means if your friend is not supporting it, you are also not supporting. If your group is not supporting, you are also not supporting. It is a like of group thing. It is society. So when you go by the society of other individuals, then it is sociological objections. So it can be logical, it can be psycho-emotional, it can be sociological. Now comes structural factors or organizational design. Because of those things, if there is objections, what can be it? Like structural inertia. When we talk about inertia, what is inertia? Inertia is actually tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged. That means being in your comfort zone. This is what is inertia. That means we don't want to do nothing or want to do actually what we are doing now. That's it. We don't want to try anything new. That is inertia. So what is structural inertia? It is like the functioning and decision making is so standardized and programmed in some organization that if suddenly a non-programmed task is to be performed, then there is inertia. Then they don't like it. So if you have a fixed rule of doing something, a fixed way of doing, like in case of tailor, we have one best way of doing thing. If you have that one best way of doing thing, then actually then leaving that particular way of doing thing and adopting a new one will be a Herculean task for the person, because it might have taken the person a lot of time to get into that particular thing, and then going again to a new thing will be a difficult task, not only to him but also to the whole organization, because the whole organization's procedure structure is designed in such manner that that one best way of doing thing is the comfort zone of each and every person. If that is changed, then it will bring about lot of objections for each and every person. So it is structural inertia, that it is the rigidity which is caused by the structure in organization. So this is the structural inertia. Then the cultural rigidity, like for some things we have cultural rigidity, those things which are there in the organization. Like for example, when you call about jallikattu, though jallikattu as it is being practiced, it is against animals, it is causing it is a cruelty against animals, else you are causing injury to the animal, as well as injuries are caused to the people who actually have played this game. And in the name of the culture, in the name of the game, it is exploitative. So but there is a cultural rigidity, like it is there in the culture of the in culture of the state, and if you go on banning jallikattu, then it will actually face a lot of objections from that particular community. So there are certain cultural rigidity as well as things, some things which are ingrained in the culture of the organization, then these are very difficult to be rooted out, because culture is something which takes a lot of time to set, and it also takes a very much of time to to change. So these can be structural factors like structural inertia or cultural rigidity. So human factors you understood. So these are the restraining forces of change. So we learned about Kurt Lewin's in force field theory, where we talked about this inertia, and we talked about two forces, driving force and this force. Okay, one more thing about change management I forgot to tell you. Change management, it involves behavior readjustment by organizational member. For OB managers, handling of resistance to change is really change management. We know that resistance to change is a part of change management, because it is the most difficult part of change management. You can conceptualize the strategy, you can actually make it executed, let it executed and implemented, but the handling the resistance in all these things is the most difficult part for the OB manager. And what it involves behavior readjustment for the organizational members. Okay. So now we are going to do a very important part of it, that is resistance management. How will you manage? Okay, we learned these are the problems and give us the solution. What is the solution to these problems? So what first is communication. It has to be communicated well. That means you have to actually prevent any kind of second guesses, any kind of filtering, any kind of miscommunication in this case, because anything if that happens, that will lead to rumors, and that will increase the resistance for the change. For example, if we talk about demonetization drive, so there can be miscommunication in many areas, like government is adding that chip on the note, and there were many there can be any problem, like if people are not communicated that they can withdraw 2000 rupees is from the banks and like from the ATMs, etc. If they are not communicated this thing, it will be there will be a lot of chaos in the people. So you have to communicate your change very well. What led to the change, what are the advantages of the change, how this change can be brought, everything. Participation. One best way of actually reducing the resistance and increasing the acceptance for change is participation. If the people are involved in the change, if they're involved in the designing of the strategies as well as implementation of the change, in the process of this, they will understand the need of change. When they face the problem, actually they will understand the need for the change, and then they themselves devise a strategy, and because they themselves did it, they will execute it well. So we will have a broad based, or we can say voluntary contribution from the people. So system of shared rewards. System of shared rewards here means system of shared resources, shared rewards. That means if the benefit of the change should be shared by all, or we can say there should be benefits of change for all. So if you want contribution from the employees, then you have to give them some inducement, that is as per the inducement contribution theory. And if the people think that they are going to get more out of the change, they will be obviously interested in the change. Employee security, you have to ensure the employee that their term will be secured, and they will be secured. If at all the change requires the retrenchment of some of the employees, then you should come up with voluntary retirement scheme or some interesting or attractive retrenchment compensation, etc., or redeployment, or these kind of strategies has to be taken. Training is a big driver in change. We have seen that it is a driving force in change. Use of informal organization is very important in change. That means if you are communicating to the group with the help of the group leader, then it will be the change will be more acceptable. The group members will be able to accept a change which comes from their group leader, and if group leader actually will be in a better position to convince them for the acceptance of the change. So use of informal organization will be really helpful in change management. Negotiation, in case when you are not able to make the change acceptable to the people, then you can actually go for negotiation, like it happened. And actually it happens all the time in our politics, when we see that even in the case of these GST, there has been negotiation between states and the center, where the centers have assured that the states will not lose their revenue, etc. So negotiation involves in that case. Co-option. What is co-option? Co-option is a strategy where a kind of divide and rule is being done. In this, resistance is broken down by manipulating voice of protest through co-option of some of the most vocal and powerful opponents. That means you are providing authority to main members of resisting group, or giving him some position in order to adjust the other person. That means there are two groups. You start favoring one group against the other in order to weaken the other group, and that's in this way you just try to weaken the groups of resistance, and then try to increase the acceptance for the change. So it may this strategy may satisfy need for power and status of the opposing groups, and in turn he would handle the resistance. I hope you understood. In that case, you are just strengthening the other group, so that the previous group it is weakened, and the strong group it can also handle the resistance from the previous group. So it is a kind of manipulation. Coercion means if by force. You can also, when you do not have much of the time to obtain acceptance from all, so if the change is very very essential, then you can also use coercion, force, in order to get the change done. So when environment is not giving choices or option, then how can you give choices or options to your people? Okay. So these are the strategies of resistance management. Now we are going to talk about a new thing, that is Kurt Lewin's change management, how he describes change. Kurt Lewin says that status quo is discarded or unfreezed. That means in the unfreeze one, you discard the status quo, you actually dismantle the old particular structure, and then you implement the change, and then you refreeze. That means install it, then ensure it, reinforce it. So this is like a process. First of all, you go on dismantling the older structure, older building, वो टूट जाती है, फिर you have a plain area, you build a building there, and then you actually also work for its maintenance, its standing, you getting all the kind of things for the, like electricity connection, all the things, so reinforcing it. So it's like unfreezing, changing, and then refreezing. So it was given by Kurt Lewin. So what is unfreeze? Unfreeze here, decrease strength of the old values, attitudes, behaviors, disconfirming data. That means it will involve communication with the employees. It will involve in use of informal groups, and other the motivation strategies, where you will actually talk about the drawbacks or the fallouts of the old structure, and then we'll talk about the change. Then here you will actually facilitate training and other things, orientation programs, motivation, etc., in order so that they embrace the new change. And then after as soon as the change is done, you will refreeze it. That means you will institutionalize it and stabilize it, so that it goes for the future, and there is no rollback. There is no switching back to the old methods. That means you are, first of all, you are disowning the old methods, or the leaving the old methods, and then you are adopting the new ones, and then you are ensuring that people do not switch back to the old one. So it is institutionalize and stabilize, reinforce the change through new norms and operating procedures. Okay. So here you can also quote B.F. Skinner. He advocated reinforcement schedule for making change permanent. That means refreezing. For refreezing term, you can use reinforcement. I can tell you, you can use reinforcement everywhere. Everywhere. When you're being about change, then you can use reinforcement as a motivational strategies in order to bring change. Okay. Now, unfreezing here means makes people uncomfortable with the present way of doing things, and graduate the new way of doing things, and then you stay here, reinforce the new way, positive reinforcement to the new way. So actually there are two dimensions of change resistance, that is against a change and against the change. This may sound little absurd, But this is very interesting. See, change resistance against a change means against any kind of change. That means against just leaving the status quo, just working out of the comfort zone. It is against a change. Well, you are just against the philosophy of change itself. You don't want to change. You want to be in your own inertia, your own way of doing things. Now, no, nothing new has to be adopted. So that is against a change. But it is about against the change. That means you are not against a change. You can change, but you are not actually comfortable with that particular change which the organization is prescribing. For example, if you say yes, you want to change for the black money ka example. If you take कि हाँ you want to change, yes, you are ready to accept a change कि the black money should be come into the come into accounts, and it should be disclosed, and it's like you have that thing that the economy should go. But you are not accepting this change of demonetization. So you are not against a change is acceptable to you, but you are against this change of demonetization. So you are against the change. So you have to actually unfreeze and start moving against both the things. You also have to make people adjustable, adaptable, and like change loving people who like changes, who actually are not always status quoist. They can actually go for the breaking their inertias and all. So you have to prepare them against a change as well, and against the change. You have to also tell them logically and rationally about the benefits of the change that you're talking about, the benefits that it will accrue, the supremacy that it have on other ideas or other ways of doing things. That should be explained to people. So then this resistance against the change will be actually taken care of. Okay, I hope you learned what is against a change and against the change. Okay. Now, Change and Organizational Growth by Larry Greiner. Larry Greiner, he talks about an organizational growth phenomena. So let's see. He says that life of organization has been made up of calm period and crisis period. He actually talks about some calm period and some crisis period. Calm period are periods which are actually very comfortable, which are easy, and then crisis period are where when you have problems in the organizations, when the survival of the organization or the growth of the organization is threatened. Then you move back to the calm period, then to crisis. So it happens, like there is a cycle. It's like a life of the organization. I can't call it a cycle, but it is a process that from calm to crisis, crisis to calm. So it happens. So what is this? Let's take. He actually says that growth can only take if you adapt to the change. Adaptation to change is very essential. That means you're comfortable with one kind of doing things, then you will face crisis. And if you do not adapt to that particular environmental change, then you will not be able to grow. As soon as you adapt to it, you grow. That means there is some dominant management strategy or dominant management style. This dominant management style, it helps you to grow. Then again a crisis happens, that is a dominant management problem. So if that dominant management problem is not adjusted, if you do not come out with strategies or methods to adapt to that particular thing or to resolve that dominant management problem, then you will not be able to move to next dominant management style, and hence you will not be able to grow. So what happens earlier? So we are talking about initially you are creative. You start an organization with a new idea, you get to do things, you start working, your organization starts growing. As soon as it grow on, the leadership problem arises. That means who is the leader in the organization, who is going to have the whole authority of the organization, who is going to take major decisions of the organization. So this is a problem. So in order to solve this problem, you have a dominant management style of direction. Then you decide direction. That means who is going to direct what, who is going to direct whom. So all things will be decided here in direction. Then the question comes of autonomy. That means if only one person is handling others, or even few persons are handling, then autonomy of the lower level managers or the middle level managers, who is going to have what kind of autonomy, what kind of freedom they are going to have. For this you came up with delegation. That means you are not going for centralization, you will start devolving authority. You will start giving more and more authority to the people, so hence they will have little autonomy with them, so you'll have delegation. But as soon as you start doing the delegation, then there'll be a crisis of control. That means who will be controlling whom? That means who will have major control in the organization. So for that dominant management problem, you will start coordinating. That means along with delegation, you have delegated things, you will also have coordination among them, integration among them, so that they know whom to report, how to report, and when to report, and they also know that who is accountable. So accountability fixation is there is proper coordination between them. Then if you go for coordination so much that you prepare the report that goes to the lower middle level managers, then that goes to the top level managers, then it moves back, so it will be a lot of delay. It will lead to a lot of delay. So in order to remove this problem of delay, you go for team. Like you have a particular team, the team will decide, it will be a group that will make the decisions, and so the decisions will not move in a vertical or horizontal manner, it will actually move within the team. So hence it will be taken in less of time, and hence it will solve this problem of delay. So when you see the team, then again there can be one problem, then again there can be anything. Like he talks about that there can be various problems in the organization, like changes will keep on happening, and you have to adapt to the change in order to grow more and more. So there will be crisis of external growth. Then there will be crisis of external growth. How will you manage with this crisis? Then you'll go for collaborations. That means you may collaborate, you may have mergers and acquisitions with other organizations in order to have benefit of synergy and other economies of scale, etc. So with that collaboration, again with this dominant management style, there can be some other dominant management problem, and it will continue. So you have to adapt, and your growth only depends upon your adaptation to change. See, in periods of calm, it is evolutionary. That means you're evolving. But in period of crisis, you are revolutionary. There need to be something great, something different to be happened immediately. That is revolutionary. And in periods of calm, it is evolutionary. Okay, I hope this is very simple. You got the idea. Next is change development. There is a change development process as given by Lawrence and Lodge. This is very simple. Just know the points. The diagnosis of problem, planning strategy of the change. You have to diagnose the problem, any problem that is occurring. Then you have to plan a strategy. You have to prepare change agents. What a change agent do? Change agent do help you in bringing the change. Who can be a change agent? A group leader can be a change agent, or a dominant person in the organization, or the head of the formal group, or these people can be a change agent, or an expert person, or a person with charismatic authority, a leader who is considered as a leader. He can be a change agent. Any change agent will help making the process of change easy or smoother. He will actually help getting the acceptance from the public. Then implementing the change, you have to execute the change, and then finally you have to evaluate. You have to see that what all has been done, what all has not been done. So was it what you planned for? And these things will be done. Okay, I hope you understood. This was very simple. This change management or the change development process by Lawrence and Lodge. Okay, now we have one more thing, like appreciative inquiry. This is actually it helps in change. It is another way of beginning an organizational effort, and it has a very basic principle of affirmation. That means getting acceptance. How you can get acceptance? It says that actually people are very skeptical to the change. They are happy with their or old way of doing things, so they do not want to shift out of their comfort zone. So it says that you remind the people of the things they have done in past successfully. You remind them of their positive moments and the effective, most efficient things they have done in their lives. And if you are reminding people about just the positive things, not the negative one, not about their failures, only about their successes, then it gives them confidence. It gives them motivation, and then they may also start feeling for the change. So see, it is a process. What kind of process it is? Like you have to choose the positive as the focus of inquiry. Appreciative inquiry here means that you want to get affirmation. That is okay. So you, what are you trying to get? The affirmation means acceptance. You are appreciating the person, and you are doing an inquiry. That means something that happened in the past, you are investigating, or you are just studying something that happened in the past in an appreciative manner. So you have to find the positive as the focus of the inquiry, something positive, and you inquire into exceptionally positive moments, only positive moments. We are not talking about negative. We are here only talking about the positive things. That means you want to change a person, so you remind him or appreciate him of his strengths and need for improving the strengths. So you don't talk about his weaknesses, and you don't suggest for overcoming weaknesses. You're just talking about the positive moments. You share the stories, identify the life-giving forces, or you can say motivating forces, or the driving forces. Create a shared vision of the preferred future. That means you are having a shared rewards person. We have talked about this strategy in resisting the change. That means you are just showing them a vision, or showing them a dream of a shared rewards, that you are actually enlarging the pie so that everybody can have a bigger share. Now innovate and improvise ways to create that future. Now you come up with a strategy, that how this future, you talked about the past, and on the basis of the past you created a vision of future, and now you'll talk about a strategy to create that future. And hence, as soon as they get a vision in their mind, and they also know the way how to get that particular thing, they'll be motivated, and they will move towards it. Okay, I hope you understood. This was a very simple video on change management. What is a change? What is the process? What is the process of the change? What Kurt Lewin has to say on force field, about driving forces and the restraining forces, and what is the process of change as per Kurt Lewin? He says unfreezing, changing, and then freezing, refreezing. Then we talked about Lawrence and Lodgka change development process, and what is appreciative inquiry, what are the strategies for resistance management, and what are the restraining forces, what are driving forces, etc. So it was a very simple and small chapter. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.